Hey guys, I just got back from seeing Supergirl in theaters, and honestly, it was a really good movie. I had a great time, and truth be told, it actually exceeded some of my expectations. Now, right out the gate, I want to give you a quick warning. While this video isn't going to be heavy on massive plot spoilers, the movie just dropped, and because of that, there are naturally going to be a few minor story elements and character beats mentioned. So if you haven't made it to the theater yet and you want to walk in completely blind, I highly advise that you pause the video now, go buy a ticket, and come right back. But if I had to rate the movie right now on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put it at a solid 7.5. Is it perfect? No. The pacing slows down a bit in a couple of places, but it never completely drags the movie down. The characters, in my opinion, are genuinely well written, and the story does a beautiful job capturing the sheer weight of Kara's trauma. We're seeing a character who actually carries the crushing burden of watching her own world slowly die. Throughout the majority of her young life, she had to watch her civilization slowly burn, starve, and decay right in front of her eyes. And she carries those burdens and that heartache with her throughout the entire timeline of the film. And seeing how that trauma defines her tone is easily the best part of the movie. It proved once and for all that she isn't just Superman in a skirt. And look, that's zero shade towards Melissa Benoist. She was a wonderful Supergirl, but the past writing practically just made her an optimistic carbon copy. The cinematic version completely breaks that mold. A huge part of that comes down to the dynamic between Kara and Ruthie. Kara is incredibly reluctant to have this kid tagging along at first, but that exact friction becomes foundational for her. It forces her to define exactly what kind of hero she wants to be. Now, full disclosure, I went to this theater with completely fresh eyes because I haven't read the Woman of Tomorrow comic yet, and honestly, I'm glad that I did. Going in blind allowed me to watch the movie for what it truly was, instead of just running through a mental checklist of things that they did or didn't follow from the source material. Think about Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix right now. Because I knew the story inside and out going into season 2, my brain automatically built a massive list of expectations and direct comparisons to the original cartoon. I didn't want that holding me back with Supergirl. Going in clean let me judge the film entirely on its own merits. But you can bet on it, I'm hitting the comic shop right after this just to go pick up a copy right now because I want to see how it's supposed to translate. But avoiding those expectations lets the movie's darker choices completely catch me off guard. They take Kara to a morally gray point that I really wasn't expecting. And I'm not disappointed by it at all. But even with the darkness, her character still gave me a genuine sense of hope. It actually culminates in a beautiful conversation where Ruthie asks her what's the real difference between her and her cousin. That's where Kara points out that he looks at people and sees the hope in them. But Kara, she's forced to look at people and see the truth. Now, recognizing that the filmmakers made some massive, deliberate shifts to make this story work for the big screen, the way they expanded the world through these changes is exactly what great cinematic world building is all about. Like Krem, our main antagonist. In the comics, he's historically depicted as a much weaker threat, but the movie gave him a major upgrade, making him stronger, meaner, and way more menacing to Kara. The writers give you an immediate, visceral reason to just flat out dislike this guy. He represents that harsh reality of the cosmos. The fact that out there in the stars, there are people who are just genuinely evil, sick, and demented. Elevating Krem makes the dynamic with Ruthie hit so much harder, giving her a reason to be completely hellbent on revenge for what he did. And a massive chunk of Kara's arc is trying to talk this kid off that ledge. I already understand that it's not a one-to-one copy of the source material, but that's what makes it an adaptation, not a recreation. But since we're talking about character adaptations, we have to address the main man on screen, Lobo. Now, fun fact for all the lore nerds out there that probably didn't know this, the original comic writers actually wanted to include Lobo in the book, but editors Brittany Holzer and Jamie Rich gave them the note to pull him out completely. They wanted to give that exact gritty, hardened role to Kara herself, forcing her to fly solo so the narrative focus stayed entirely on the dynamic between her and Ruthie. Yet, in a brilliant twist of production irony, the cinematic adaptation has come full circle by weaving the main man back in the story. Now, look-wise, Jason Momoa is absolutely spot on. There's no doubt about it. But I will say when you first meet him in the first half of the movie, the attitude, at least to me, doesn't totally scream Lobo the main man, at least not right away. He feels a little toned down, but by the second half, the writers completely let him off the chain, and Momoa just absolutely kills it. With that, I love that they kept the focus on Kara by only lightly touching on his backstory. The only thing you hear pretty much is, yeah, I heard he killed his entire planet, and literally left it at that. The movie didn't let it drag its feet by explaining why, which keeps the pacing decently tight. The only nitpick I would have with him, honestly, was him being able to call his cosmic motorcycle by a whistle, and it just rolls up to him like a loyal mechanical stallion. It didn't break the character for me, but man, it would have been such a cool trait for him to have. And I really hope that he pops back into the DCU. He doesn't have to be a main character or anything like that. Just give him like 20 minutes in a future project, cause absolute chaos, and just fly off on his motorcycle. Beyond the characters, the actual environment of this galaxy feels incredibly alive. People are literally catching space buses to travel between star systems. It creates an active, lived-in galaxy that proves Earth isn't the center of everything. They also dive into how different suns do different things, but I'm not going to get too far into that. In my opinion, with that, the writers definitely took a bit of an easy creative shortcut by introducing a specific colored sun to explain some of Kara's physical struggles outside of the standard red sun rule. And I really want to say that the movie also tries to answer its own questions as we go along, but I can definitely understand where suspension of disbelief would be a struggle for people. Now, spoiler. There is one narrative choice that completely stumped me. The movie somehow establishes that Krem somehow knows exactly what kryptonite is and how it works. That really doesn't make sense contextually, seeing as how the scientists and the doctors back on Argo City didn't even know that it was radioactive until it was too late. How does a random pirate know its exact properties? This is one of those things that I actually can't see working out in a future film, unlike another thing that happened later on in the movie. But maybe it ties into a future Brainiac storyline, or the fate of Argo City. And that brings me to one of my biggest critiques of this film's narrative. Kara's decision at the very end of this movie, and how it contradicts the lesson that she was trying to get Ruthie to learn. Near the end, Kara makes an incredibly dark moral decision. Without spoiling exactly what happens, it genuinely made me question her character and her morality going forward. It felt a bit out of place, especially considering the entire movie is built around her trying to teach Kara that revenge will ruin your soul. To see Kara turn around and make the choice that she made completely subverts the lesson. However, with Krem on the loose and the stakes fully established regarding crypto, the journey takes Kara and Ruthie across a few different planets, moving around more than just one yellow sun. And honestly, seeing them navigate this harsh environment, dealing with the moral weight of their choices, while the movie simultaneously leaves massive question marks, sets up an incredibly fascinating framework. It doesn't just resolve a simple revenge story. It forces you to look at the darker, messier corners of the universe. But you know me, I'm able to look at the bigger scope of things and try to look further down the line than just this one thing we have in the present time. And that brings me to the ultimate question. Where do we go from here? Because in my opinion, that dark moment Supergirl chooses to take at the end of the film completely changes the game for her character moving forward in the DCU. It turns her into a fascinating wild card. When you have a hero who is willing to cross a line that some other heroes strictly avoid, it completely redefines how she is going to play into future projects. Think about when it comes to fighting off the next major threat, or even more interestingly, when she has to act like a moral compass to a whole nother hero. Imagine her standing next to a younger hero, or even a seasoned hero, who is tempted to just pull that trigger on a villain. Kara's the only one who can look them dead in the eye and say, I've been down this dark road. I know exactly what it costs, and it isn't worth it. Her hypocrisy in this movie could actually become her greatest strength later on, transforming her into a deeply seasoned, complex leader who understands the true price of vengeance, building her character arc instead of in just one movie over time into future projects. And that complex moral ground is going to make her interactions with the rest of the galaxy incredible to watch. Looking at the broader content ecosystem James Gunn is trying to build, this film leaves us with a massive wish list for future movies and TV shows. For instance, We need more Momoa's Lobo. Like I said earlier, he doesn't need to be a traditional hero or anchor a massive cosmic epic right away. Just let him pop up as an absolute menace for 20 minutes in a future project. That's all we need. Tracking down a bounty, causing total unfiltered chaos, and then flying right back into the stars, leaving all the heroes to look up at him like what the hell just happened. His wild, unpredictable energy is the perfect foil for the structured, morally grounded corners of this universe. Between the massive questions left behind regarding Argo City's true fate, the origin mechanics of kryptonite, and the lingering threat of Brainiac potentially pulling the strings in the background, the foundation is completely set for a massive cosmic payoff. But that's my take on where the franchise is headed. This movie did a massive job opening up the sandbox, and now I want to open the floor to you guys. What did you think of Supergirl's character arc? Did that dark decision at the end of the movie work for you? Or did it feel out of place given the lessons that she was trying to teach Ruthie? And where do we want to see her and possibly Lobo pop up next in the DCU? Jump down in the comments and let me know what your theories are and your ultimate wish list for the future of the universe. And while you're at it, if you enjoyed this and want to see more potential pitch content, definitely check out my Matrix video where I completely retcon Resurrections and lay out a whole new trilogy that is way more worth watching. And if you want to see how my pitches can introduce a brand new character like the DCU's Flash, make sure you check out that video as soon as it is posted. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on other pitches and upcoming projects that I have laid out for you. Thanks for hanging out and get those comments rolling, guys. This is Peter, and I'll see you in the next sandbox.